Hello and welcome to another Ask Cheeky. I'm Isaiah Henkel, a Cheeky Scientist, and today's question comes from Jeremy Voice. I've gone to a lot of networking events in person. The really hard part for me is introducing myself to other people. How do I do this? So thank you, Jeremy, for the question. This is a question we get a lot, and it gets a lot more specific than just how to introduce yourself at a networking event. So if you're like me, you've gone to a networking event, you've walked in the door, and there's already a bunch of people there, and they're already in their little cliques, right? They're in their little circles talking to each other, and you look around, and it looks like every circle is closed. And everybody's talking, there's no pause in the conversation. So when you go up to one of these circles, you end up standing there and doing what I've done many, many times. You stand there, you wait for somebody to introduce you, or you wait for a pause in the conversation. Nobody introduces you. There's never a pause in the conversation. So you end up just standing there with maybe your drink in your hand or whatever else, and a few minutes go by, and then you slowly back away from the circle and you leave, feeling very awkward, very foolish, and looking foolish as well. So you have to understand that at a networking event, when everybody's meeting each other for the first time, nobody wants there to be an awkward silence. So in all of these circles where people are talking, they're going to continue talking. And if somebody stops talking, somebody else is going to talk. It keeps the conversation going. It keeps that dreaded awkward silence from happening. What this means is when you go up to a circle to introduce yourself, there's never going to be a pause. There's never going to be a perfect moment for you to introduce yourself. And nobody else there is going to introduce you. Very, very unlikely. You might have it happen once every 100 times. Somebody who's like a networking pro will introduce you, but, and by the way, on the reverse end of this, this is a great strategy for you to get to know other people by when they walk up to a circle, give them a second to introduce themselves, but we'll get back to that. So how do you handle the networking circle? How do you introduce yourself? You have to do what I call, you have to execute the excuse me sandwich. Okay, first of all, there's never going to be a pause in the conversation. So when you walk up to that circle, without waiting, don't wait for a pause, don't wait for somebody else to introduce you, but right away, look at the person who's talking and politely say, excuse me, I just want to introduce myself very quickly to everybody else in the circle. You introduce yourself, takes a few seconds, introduce yourself to everybody, shake everybody's hand, and then look at the person who's talking again and say, excuse me, again, please continue, and thank you, etc. All right, it's called the excuse me sandwich. It's the only way to introduce yourself to a networking circle. Now, you could stand there for maybe a half a second or a second and wait for the person's sentence to finish, but realize there's never going to be a pause. So you're going to have to cut the person off in a second, and that's what, that's why you're saying excuse me. And the person, you might notice in their eyes, they seem annoyed for a millisecond, but then they're going to realize they're at a networking event and that this is proper behavior, introducing yourself, and they're there to network and meet new people. So as long as you say, excuse me, I just want to introduce myself quickly, right? I'm Jason Smith, shake your hand, shake everybody's hand, and then turn to the person again and say, excuse me again, thank you very much, please continue. That person will finish their thought, they'll finish the conversation, and you come away looking very professional. You just met everybody, and now you're integrated into the group. They've all heard you talk, and so now you can add to the conversation. Trust me, this is the only way to do this. This is the only way to integrate yourself into a networking circle when you show up at an event, especially when you're alone. So hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions on this, please ask them in a comment on this post. And until next time, remember your value as a PhD and start thinking and acting like a successful industry professional.